Ladies and gentlemen, we got him. Dave Smith, we got you. Dave Smith, libertarian, out here voting for Donald Trump. And I agree with Dave on a lot of things. We don't agree on everything, of course, but we do agree on a lot. I consider myself a more libertarian-leaning individual, not a strong conservative, Trump-supporting populist guy, but I am supporting Donald Trump. I took the other day this test WAPO had about asking questions on policy to see who you're more aligned with. And of course, I'm more aligned with Donald Trump, but there were some things that Kamala had proposed that I do agree with. I just think that Kamala's awful, can't actually get anything done. Just because an expert wrote a plan for it doesn't mean she knows how to do it. But here we have Dave Smith, once favored to be the presidential candidate for the Libertarian Party. We wish. He ultimately didn't. The Libertarians chose to nominate Chase Oliver. And my conspiracy theory is that Chase is being the sacrificial lamb for the Libertarians to get the Libertarians to vote for Trump because Trump actually is pretty good. I'm kidding. I think there was that, Rechtenwald, Michael Rechtenwald was a doctor. Michael Rechtenwald was going to be the nominee. And then there was a deal cut by the more woke candidate. And now Chase Oliver, who nobody wants to be president, is the candidate for the Libertarians. So large portions of the Libertarian Party will be voting for Donald Trump. Dave Smith long said he would not do it. Joe Rogan defers to Dave Smith on politics. And now Dave Smith has published an episode of his show, Part of the Problem, outright saying, I'm voting for Trump. We got you, Dave. We got you. Oh, no, it's very based from Dave Smith. His criticisms of Trump are strong. They are often correct. And I know it's probably a difficult decision for him to say, but there's a reality to this that Dave and I had talked about before when it pertains to foreign policy. And Dave is an honest guy. So when I lay out the case, he's like, there's a good point there when it comes to foreign policy, that those who are more libertarian leaning and want to see an end to bad foreign policy make a small gain with Donald Trump. And with Kamala Harris, it's substantially worse. The best part about this is the straw on the camel's back was Dave Smith seeing Kamala campaigning with Liz Cheney. And he's like, you just deserve to lose for this, bro. And Trump's out there campaigning with Tulsi Gabbard. Yo, man, I'm loving it. This timeline's great. But I also have to announce as well that Ian Crossland, you love him or you hate him, said last night on Timcast IRL he's voting for Donald Trump. It's too close. It's true. You may not like the guy. There are real issues with Donald Trump. That's fair, but he's still just better. We got to get there. I got to tell you guys, Donald Trump is the first time in my life I've seen what I would describe as a net positive presidency. And I am stoked on it. A net positive presidency. Okay. He was trying to pull our troops out of these quagmires, they call them. He was trying to work on securing the border. I'm not a staunch libertarian. I don't mind tariffs. I think some protectionism in trade is okay. Libertarians don't like it, but I don't think Dave can ignore the fact that if he's being honest, he's got an opportunity here on foreign policy. When you look at what Kamala is doing, I'm going to play this clip for you guys from his show, Part of the Problem. Take a listen. It's a few minutes long.
Oh, listen, man, and I just want to preface this by saying this is not me walking back the things that I said on yesterday's episode. I still stand by everything I said there, but I think I might vote for Trump.
Wow. That's a bombshell of breaking news.
I'll tell you what it did. And it's funny because literally when we finished the show yesterday, it was like an hour after we were done recording or something like that. I was just literally just on Twitter and I saw Kamala Harris campaigning with Liz Cheney. And I'll play you the clip in a second. And I was just so disgusted by it.
Yes.
But it was just like, oh, fuck you. Like, God damn, do you just deserve to lose? Like, as if there's already enough reasons. And listen, if I'm not even trying to make like a big thing out of this, like I'm making an announcement that I'm supporting Trump or anything like that. And I don't even fucking know. It'll probably, like, I'm registered. It'll probably depend on how I'm feeling. You know what I mean? Like, but there's just, it's like nothing. I'm not changing anything. I'm not like a Trumper now, and I'm going to continue to criticize Donald Trump at every turn where I feel like he deserves it. It just was like, oh man, this thing just disgusted me so much, dude. Did you? I don't know. By the way, have you seen this clip, Rob? Kamala Harris talking about World War II?
I don't think so. But
All right.
I'm going to suggest, while you're endorsing Trump, I'm going to suggest the viewers do what I do, which is just show up and pull a bunch of levers and see what happens.
Let me do this. He does say in this clip, I think I'm voting for Trump. The episode that he published 14 hours ago says, Dave Smith, I'm voting for Trump. Part of the problem, 1,184. Dave, you're a fantastic guy. I'm a big fan. Dave is not only funny, but he is also honest. And I respect him. You know, I would argue that he'd be my ideal candidate, despite disagreements we may have. I still think he's the more honest of the people who are potentially going to run for president. But I got to be honest. If the race was, you know, I chose who would be president, just me. It was like, Tim, you have supreme authority to pick the president. I'd be like, I'll go with Dave. Dave, good luck. But that's not the reality. The reality is we have a choice between whatever the Democrats are doing. I don't know. Kamala never got elected. She was just put there. And Donald Trump. And I think Donald Trump is a net positive presidency. So for me, I'll put it this way. I think there are a lot of people that are late to the game. I think there are a lot of people that don't want to admit it, but they're going to vote for Donald Trump. They don't want to say they will. I think if I was going to make a bet, I think Joe Rogan votes for Donald Trump. I don't know for sure. It's not like the guy's told me anything, but you can't be, in my opinion, sitting here talking about all of these issues pertaining to COVID, women's sports, gun rights, all of these things. You can't be a dude as like Joe's testosterone is probably through the roof. Okay. Like he works all the time. He fights. He's eating elk, eating meat. Yeah. You're not voting for Kamala Harris if you're doing this. And based on what Kamala Harris is offering, I can't imagine Joe Rogan doing anything but being like, I don't like Donald Trump for a lot of reasons, but I'll give him my vote. We'll see. More importantly, when Joe gets asked political questions, he says, don't look at me. I'm not a political guy. Ask Dave Smith. That's the guy. Because Dave is. He's a good comedian. He's smart, honest, and he's a political guy. Now, Dave has this from his show back in August, hammering Trump. I just have no confidence in his ability to do anything. And I want to read what he said. He says he's not walking back anything. He said, I think he's telling you the truth. He said, I saw Liz Cheney with Kamala. I'm like, you deserve to lose. I love it. But come on, man. Listen. Donald Trump's brought on Tulsi Gabbard, who at a rally just the other day announced she was joining the Republican Party. Tulsi Gabbard is the anti-intervention candidate. She's not perfect. There are some instances where she favors American war policy. Like, if you could call it that, I guess. But she's largely anti-interventionist, and she has spoken out repeatedly. I mean, the one criticism I've got of Tulsi Gabbard, I mean, it's not a real. I've got some criticisms. Like, you know, she was not so good on guns before and nuclear energy. Fine. But like, as an aside, in the 2019 primary, she had to have said regime change war 800 times. And I'm like, lady, we get it. But I'm a fan. Tulsi Gabbard was my pick for the Democratic primary because, she serves this nation in the National Guard. She is anti-intervention. And I said, those are some of the most important issues for me, is our president being our chief diplomat, commander-in-chief, and having foreign policy experience with real plans and positions towards the prosperity of this country outside of this garbage American hegemonic machine, the liberal economic order. And so I like Tulsi Gabbard. What do I see now? I see a Donald Trump standing next to a Tulsi Gabbard, and I'm like, I like it. And an RFK Jr. and an Elon Musk. And then you got Liz and Dick Cheney standing next to Kamala. I'm like, go back. Put a curtain over it or something. I don't want to look at that. So here's what David said before. He says, the problem I've had with Donald Trump is that there's this weird thing the left-wingers and right-wingers all project something on Donald Trump that doesn't exist. The left-wingers see him as this Hitlerian figure who's going to overthrow democracy. That is all, I think, very removed from reality. And then his supporters see him as this champion of the working class and this anti-establishment guy, and none of that is true. He's just what you see. He's Donald Trump. He's what you've always known he was. He's a guy who's never read a book about anything. He's maybe watched a show about it. He heard Sean Hannity talk about it for 10 minutes. He's got his talking points, and he's going to roll with that. Vivek Ramaswamy told him about the central bank digital currency thing, and he told him it's no good. And then he went out and said it's no good, and it got big cheers. So, okay, that's in now because that gets cheers. It's that shallow. To actually drain the swamp, what are you talking about here? You're talking about rolling back the biggest honeypot in the history of the world, all right? That might take some book reading. Now, look. Sure, Dave. I agree. Donald Trump wants to get cheers. And he wants to get cheers from better people. People who are saying no foreign wars. Let's roll with it. I'm down. If Donald Trump walks up to you and says, What do I got to do to make you smile and say you like me? And I'll say, no more foreign interventions without congressional declarations of war. Okay. Legitimate reasons for those declarations of war. We've not had that since World War II. I'm anti-intervention in a general sense, but I recognize there are instances where we may intervene. But Congress has to declare war, not this garbage the U.S. just bombs stuff. Disgusting. And so how about that? Trump comes up to you. When he meets you, he compliments you. There's a lot of guys like that I've met. You know, Zachary Levi, Russell Brand, Donald Trump. They know how to do it. They're nice guys. They're strong. They're confident, successful guys. And they know they want your support, your friendship. And maybe it's just naturally good. They're just nice guys or natural. Look, like Russell Brand, you know, this is a guy you got to meet because he walks up to you and then he makes you feel like you're Russell Brand. Okay, shout out to Russell. And what I mean is, you see this guy walking around and everyone's like wanting to talk to him and they're big fans. And then he stops to talk to you and he's your fan. He meets you and he's like, you are so lovely. Wow, this is incredible. It's so nice to meet you. And you feel like you're the celebrity in the interaction. I feel similarly with Zachary Levi. This guy's a movie star and he meets you and he's like, oh man, you know, so nice to meet you. And you feel like you're the movie star. Trump does the same thing. These guys, they know what they're on about. They know how to be nice, how to make you feel good about yourself, create a good interaction and build confidence in you. I respect that tremendously. I meet Donald Trump for the first time and he's like, look at that face. So it was Alex Brusowitz introduces me to Donald Trump and he says, Tim's, you know, one of the biggest influencers. And he says, well, how could he not be? Look at that face. And I'm like, thank you, Mr. President. Like, it's a joke, but he's a nice guy. But they're strong guys. You know what I mean? And so this is what I see with Donald Trump. He wants you to love him. He really does. Certainly feels good. For whatever reason, driving Trump to be that way. And then he goes to the advisors that we like, Tulsi Gabbard, RFK, Vivek, Elon. And he says, what do I got to say to make people like me? And he's like, here's what you got to do. And Trump says, you got it. And then we get free speech. We get no intervention. We get healthy. I'm like, dude, I will take every piece of that. So I don't care if it's Donald Trump as the avatar, whatever this movement is. But Kamala Harris equally. No. It's not even fair to say equally. I was going to say she's a shell of a candidate. At least Trump has charisma. Trump has ideas in and of himself for sure. But I agree with Dave to a large degree. Kamala is just nothing. And her representatives are the Cheneys, Kinzinger. Oh, man. Yeah, I am just so far removed from all of that. I'm going to go ahead and say, please don't stand anywhere near me. Blech. So I love to see it. I love to see it. Dave Smith saying outright, you know what? It's going to be Trump. It's going to be Trump. Probably depends on how he feels, but he posted his show saying he's voting for Donald Trump. Let me tell you about Ian Crossin. You know, all of you who watch Timcast IRL, many people don't like Ian. A lot of people really like Ian. He's like loved or hated. He says he rolls a 20 or a 1. For those that don't know what it means. In Dungeons and Dragons, I know, here we go, right? When you want to perform an action, you will roll dice, a 20-sided dice. And then it'll be like if you're, I don't know exactly how it works, but it's basically like if your attack power is 10 and their defense is 10, you have to roll at least a 1 or whatever. And then that gives you an attack power of 11, which beats 10 or something like that. But if you roll a 1, you critically fail. No matter what happens, you lose. If you roll a 20, no matter what, you win. The joke with Ian is that he either nails it or he is just so far off, it's embarrassing. And that's how people are with these polarizing, right? But let me tell you, my friends, many people are like, he doesn't know what he's talking about. He hates Donald Trump. He's got Trump derangement syndrome. And I'm like, we're not going to have an echo chamber on this show. Certainly, I think derailing conversations is a bad thing. But if Ian doesn't agree, and he says here he doesn't agree on an issue like Donald Trump, I think it's important to hear so we can make our arguments. But guess what? Last night he said he's voting for Donald Trump. So what do you think that means? When there's a guy you think is you think is stupid, you think has got bad ideas, has no idea what's going on, and he says, I'm voting for Trump. What do you think that means? What message is conveyed by such a thing? I think it's valuable. Ian's basically looking at exactly what I said. Elon, Vivek, RFK Jr., J.D. Vance, Tulsi Gabbard. And he's like, wow. Elon watches J.D. Vance and says, now there's a guy. Or I'm sorry, Ian. Did I say Elon? Ian sees J.D. Vance and he's like, wow. And now all of a sudden, Trump may be bad, but he surrounds himself with these amazing people. So what does that mean? I think it's looking good for Donald Trump. But we will see, because what do I know? Right now, Trump's got the polls. He's got the election betting odds, but shadow campaign. So we'll see. We'll see. Well, I'll wrap it up there, my friends. Shout out to Dave Smith. Very based of you, Dave. I respect it. I do. You know, I had talked with Dave about foreign policy. Dave disagrees with me on certain things related to Trump's foreign policy. I thought Abraham Accords were good. Dave said that he believed that it created the pressure which resulted in the war right now between Israel and Palestine. And agree to disagree. But we did have an agreement on Trump still gave us the best foreign policy in terms of withdrawing troops and toning these things down. And, it's been a long time since we did the conversation, but to a certain extent, Dave he said he did agree with some of what I was saying. And so I think Dave's being honest about his views on these things. I respect it. But we'll see how things go. Smash the like button. Share the show with everyone you know. Follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. Become a member at timcast.com. Leave us a good review. We'll see you all in the next segment.